I was sent this video. This psychologist is giving red pill talking points in a little bit more dressed up package. But what is always hilarious to me is when men interview men about what women want. And then when this person is using talking points, talking about like the fathers of psychology or whatever, when in reality, the fathers of psychology were just as sexist as red pillars are right now, putting what women want into some psychobabble where they don't usually listen to women speaking about what women want. But I've taken a few of his clips and I want y'all to listen to it. It's just wild to me to hear a supposed psychologist talk about betas. No, hold on. What do you say? Simping, talking about marketplace, talking about modern women. It's, it's literally what we hear on a day to day basis, just a little bit better grammar.
Question all men want to know, it's a very basic one, is what do women want? It's a very heavy one. There's a lot to it, right?
There is a lot to that. That was the greatest mystery to Freud and the fathers of psychology. The true and unsatisfying answer is women want what they want. And the secondary to that is women want what other women want. Often women want what other women want more than they want what's best for themselves. This has to do with the fact that both men and women are playing two different games simultaneously. Both sexes are playing their own intrasexual status games, and they're also playing intersexual power games. And it's very difficult for a man to win both of those games or a woman to win both of those games simultaneously. For instance, a man could potentially simp powerfully for a woman and be at her beck and call and yes, dear, sweetheart, and buy her flowers and roses. And that might work in the short term to attract a woman into a relationship. But that man isn't going to be elevated in status within his own intersexual hierarchy. So other men aren't really going to look at that behavior admiringly, and that's going to be potentially a liability for that person. By the same token, a lot of modern women are in this trap where some of the behavior that might work to get them the kind of relationship they want from the men they want to have that relationship with is frowned upon by their fellow women. It's basically the equivalent of simping in men. And the equivalent of simping in men for women is anything that has to do with, let's say, traditional reactionary feminine behavior. That I am going to be submissive for a man, that I am going to wait for him. That's how it used to be, where a woman, what was that in the Odyssey, where Penelope waited for 20 years for Odysseus to come home, and all of the suitors of Greece had taken over her house, and she still refused to believe that Odysseus was dead? That's a model for feminine loyalty that, it's a myth, but it's something that you don't see so often anymore. The idea that I'm going to serve a man or make his life easier or do any kind of domestic help, all of these things would be seen as almost a betrayal of her gender at this point. And so even though those behaviors might instrumentally help her get the kind of relationship she wants with the man she wants to have that relationship with, it would come at the cost of, let's say, the respect of the women that she's competing against in her own intersexual status games. So this is kind of how we get into our own ways these days.
All right, you have a YouTube channel called Psychologist, which is, I believe, is going to be it's going to be the hottest YouTube channel in the world. I think it's just the most fascinating.
The title of this is Thoughts on Love and Marriage. And it really was mostly about getting the nookie and gameplay. There was nothing really about love and marriage in this because, yes, you got to get someone to be attracted to you. You want them to stay continually attracted to you. But then he's just talking about gameplay. And I don't know what his findings are or his success rate at relationships, but it's not really, there's no real love or marriage in this interview.
So women have to put themselves in front of the guy, just like in olden days, where they would kind of drop the handkerchief and bend over, and the guy would be like, my lucky day. We often think of men initiating, but often women initiate the initiation. You understand? Mm-hmm. And if a woman is just waiting for a guy to do that, and she's not initiating the initiation, I don't have a lot of sympathy because she's sitting on this incredible gender-specific success rate that has to do with initiation, okay? So a woman needs to make it clear that she is open to a sexual relationship with a guy because that's the Trojan horse to get into the city. And in general, to keep a man, it's important for a woman to not just offer a sexual opportunity, but to be the nastiest, sluttiest version of herself possible. And there's a number of good reasons for why this is true. First of all, and foremost, men, whether or not it's true, but it's mostly true, men gauge a woman's interest and attraction in him by what she is willing to do with him sexually. It's been very well documented, and I think all men understand this on like a gut level, that women will do more things faster in the bedroom with men that they like and they're attracted to than with men that they are not. And so when a woman is the nastiest, sluttiest version of herself possible, what she's functionally communicating with her behavior, which is the only thing that really matters, not with her words, but with her actions, that you are the most desirable man I've ever met. And I am willing to break the rules for you that I strongly and rigidly enforce with all other men. And that's going to play to a man's ego, which is a trap for men, but women should absolutely use that to their advantage whenever possible. I mean, all's fair in love and war, right? That's going to make the man feel like he's a king of the boudoir. He's going to feel like, and it's going to put him in his masculine. All good things, because when a man is put into his masculine and he feels that there is a beautiful woman who is sexually submissive to him, it triggers his instinct to protect and to provide. Which, how does that not redound to the woman's benefit? You know what I'm saying? It's actually a very easy con on the part of the women.
I don't know a guy that wouldn't fall for that.
It's very hard to do, man. So by being the nastiest, sluttiest version of yourself possible, women are communicating that I'm willing to break the rules for you because I'm putting you above all other men, which is going to stimulate his ego and put him into that position. Now, that's also going to keep him coming back. You have to understand that one of my very first episodes years ago was everyone is unique and everyone is replaceable. Both of those things are true. That's one of the paradoxes of being alive. You are a unique individual. No one like you has ever existed before and will never exist again. But once you're gone, people will be making interviews like this. And once I'm gone, people will be sitting here answering questions like this. And that's how the whole game continues forever. And thank God for that, or else everything would come crumbling down on some level. So bad for the individual, but good for society and the perpetuation of the game. Let's put it that way. So if a woman simply provides a run-of-the-mill sexual opportunity, that's very easy to replace. And the fact of the matter is that sex in today's marketplace is extremely cheap. It's cheap because sex must now precede commitment. There's a whole other spiel I can give you about why that's the case, but let's table that for now because I still want to answer your question.
That's changed since our parents' generation, perhaps.
It's changed in the last 60 years, and the main instigator of the change was birth control. A 2-minute sidebar, the reason why commitment had to precede sex for so long is because the threat of pregnancy always loomed large. And in that day, it was extremely difficult, if not impossible, for a woman to earn her own money and to survive in society without the protection or provision of a man or a governmental program that served as its surrogate. And all of those things have changed. The reason why commitment was required before sex was because the stakes of a woman becoming pregnant outside of marriage were extremely high. And it was upheld socially because if that man couldn't be persuaded or coerced to commit, then that single unwed mother and her children would have become society's problem. So all of these things have changed. Women can and do earn their own money. There are all kinds of governmental programs to subsidize single mothers. Men, whether they commit to this arrangement or not, are legally required to give women child support for the children that they sire, in some cases even for the children that they don't. So the circumstances for requiring commitment prior to sex have shifted. And once a few women started to be okay with a sexual relationship prior to an exclusive commitment or marriage, once a critical mass was reached, then functionally all other women had to do the same in order to remain competitive within the sexual marketplace. Because in today's day and age, if you were to go out on the first date with a woman, she would insist, well, I'm not going to have sex until I get married, especially if she's not a virgin. I mean, she's going to price herself out of the sexual marketplace. That's going to be too expensive for any given man when there's a woman 2 swipes away who's going to be willing to go home with him for a drink or two.
Okay, now for this comment, she says, I'm a therapist, and for those who don't know, there is a difference between a therapist and a psychologist. That therapists have to live and work in the gray area of the lives, whereas psychologists tend to be consistently black and white, like this man here. That being said, I do a lot of couples work, and yes, in the beginning of relationships, it can seem very transactional. And he's correct about these things on a very basic level, especially with Nookie. And I'm not surprised he's talking about ego. Love, however, encompasses much more than that and is extremely complex. Truly, it's possible to have a long-lasting relationship, but it takes communication, safety, comfort, and shared values. Now, this man, he talks very, very basic, just like the red pillars are, where men are the protectors and the providers, and women just need, that status, and you have to get their status, and you have to just keep worrying about a man's ego. But he doesn't acknowledge that women work. Women have their own, and women are not going to consistently placate to a man's ego and like kowtow to doing what he needs and wants versus her needs also needing to be met as well. And our needs to be met as well is not simply, well, you get to live in this house, because women are providing that for themselves as well. So it has to be more like this woman, Chrissy, is saying. It has to be a little bit deeper, a bit deeper than what this red pillar psychologist is saying.
So you've told us what women can do to get the man they want, and you've told us what men could do to get the women they want. But there's more to it, isn't there?
Of course.
The game.
Oh yeah, the game is infinite.
I could be a wealthy, handsome man with a great future, sitting at a bar on Saturday night, and nothing's going to happen for me, right?
Correct. Especially if you're a man. If you are a decently attractive woman and you were to sit by yourself at a bar on a Saturday night, whether you wanted it or not, you would soon have company. But a man could be brilliant, he could be rich, he could be a neurosurgeon, and he could drink by himself all night. Okay? So men need game in the sense of they need some strategy in order to attract the opposite sex. That's very different from the strategies that women do. I'm not going to say that women don't have to do that. They do all kinds of things to their appearance, right? Because that's generally what's most important to men, especially on first blush, with respect to their attraction to women. So they do all kinds of things with respect to their figure and their dress and their fashion and their makeup and things like that. Men, for better or for worse, we don't really have to worry about that as much. So there are a few different strategies that consistently work to increase your attraction as a man to women. Let's see if I can remember them. Cocky and playful is an old standby from the pickup community. Being like, this is a tough one. It's not the best one, but being like funny, being the funny guy can work. Like but it can also backfire, because at some point you do have to kind of transition from being kind of like goofy and playful to being sexual. And sometimes that can feel like a bait and switch to a woman. Patrice O'Neill used to say, I wish I didn't have to laugh my way into pussy, but that was what he had to do, apparently. There is also like low activation game, which is just sort of like confidence and not giving a woman much energy. That works if you already have, let's say, some reputation buy-in. If you have a table in the VIP bottle section of a club, for instance, you already have some social validation that you have the money to spend on that. So you don't necessarily have to work as hard to attract attention to yourself, because like you did that passively with respect to your structure. And so you can actually kind of be a little bit more aloof and withdrawn, which makes you potentially seem even more attractive in that moment, right? But the essence of game is to stimulate an emotional reaction in a woman. That is the easiest way to seduce a woman, is to stimulate an emotional response in her. And it doesn't even really matter what the emotion is. It doesn't even have to be a positive emotion. I mean, that's why negging works on some level.
Which is disrespecting.
It's a teasing, playful disrespecting, yes. It's sort of like treating a girl like your bratty little sister. So it shouldn't be anyway, a real cold-hearted, harsh disrespect. It should be playful. The idea here is that I'm so confident in your presence that I can kind of toy with your beauty that I know will dazzle and stun and petrify other men. It has no effect on me.
Confidence goes a long way.
Confidence is amazing. So one of the things that a lot of guys don't understand, so I've had a few different careers in my life so far. I used to be an actor. And when I was an actor as a young man, it was easier for me to get laid than when I was a rich, successful doctor. It's changed a little bit now that I'm somewhat famous, but until I started the YouTube channel and it blew up, it was much, much harder for me to get laid as a successful entrepreneur doctor than being a broke theater actor in New York City. And this is baffling to guys, but the fact of the matter is that you do not need money to get laid. You might need money if you want to get married, but you definitely don't need money to get laid. And a lot of guys, and it's a kind of a function of their male rational mindset, they listen to talks online or they buy programs and what do women want? And they say, okay, women want abs, women want tall guys, women want rich guys. And they think, okay, well, some of those things I can do, some of those things I can't do. But it's like, okay, I'll get the abs, check. I'll get the money, check. And so now all I have to do is go up in front of a woman and say, in so many ways, and just let her know, hey, I am a rich guy with abs, and they're supposed to just like line up to fuck them. And let me tell you that's not how it works. So I call those things attraction proxies. Guys really want women to become attracted to them. They hear that these things are what women in general want, and so they say, well, I'll just get those things, and then the attraction will be taken care of. And that's not true. I do consultations all the time with guys who have super yachts down in Miami, who fly private jets, and who cannot get fucking laid because they have no experience picking women up. They don't know how to talk to beautiful women in particular. They don't have any problems with the ones they're not attracted to generally. but obviously that's not the ones that they want. The way to get laid is to learn how to seduce a woman. That's it. Like, you don't need abs. You don't need money. What you need is seduction technique. And the core of seduction is the ability to stimulate an emotional response in somebody else and to guide them through an emotional journey that ultimately culminates in a sexual experience that.
Finally, this last clip, the interviewer asked him why women choose a-holes. And I am baffled, befuddled, all of that, surprised, whatever. Like, why are you bringing this up in a supposed interview about love and marriage? Because women are not just out here choosing a-holes. And that's the reason why I keep saying these people don't actually talk to women about what women want. They go to men and get some kind of opinion. But women are not out here saying, I need an a-hole or whatever, all this psychobabble. Women do want to feel supported. We want to feel listened to. We want to feel reciprocated. We want a man with some emotional intelligence, not just an a-hole, and not just someone that's seemingly unbothered or is putting on this I don't give an F attitude, what you think, so you can take it or leave it type of thing. Like this woman says, women want to feel safe, but I'm old, and I think it boils down to feeling safe with a person who has your best interest at heart. Social media, wretched are perceptions. The thing is like, no matter if we have social media or not, these people are not spouting anything that will create long lasting bonds. Okay, someone is coming across as unbothered or using these pickup artist tactics. How long is that relationship going to last if it is built on manipulation tactics? So, and he actually mentions manipulation tactics and pickup artist type of things. And why are men listening to this, and why is it so hard to understand that you actually do need to listen to women about what women want, and that's the best way to, like, I don't know, even on an individual level. A woman will let you know what she wants because all of us will want something different. So this man is very, very like extra generalizing. And that's what these people do because they don't listen to women. Y'all, watch this clip. Let me know what you think about this whole thing.
Well, there's a number of reasons for that, and there are good reasons. First of all, an asshole is generally somebody who doesn't care about another person's feelings.
This isn't my term. This is a term that a lot of guys use when they're losing out.
I hear it. We can use that term, assholes. I got no problem with asshole. But let's break that down. Like, what assholes do get laid a lot. They certainly get laid over the nice guys. So what are assholes doing, or how are they being with women that is allowing them to have and enjoy greater success than the nice guys out there? Well, like I said, one of the first things about assholes is they don't care how other people feel. And what did I just say a few minutes ago is like the Achilles heel for most men is the negative expressed emotion of women. I'm upset with you. I'm angry with you. They start to cry. And it's like, on some level, a nice guy will be too empathetic, will say, oh, I'm uncomfortable with this woman's distress. I am going to change myself. I'm going to change the situation. I'm going to change the relationship. I will change reality itself if I can to get this woman to stop crying or to get this woman to stop being angry with me, without necessarily considering whether or not this woman has a fucking point, whether her tears are justified, whether her anger is justified. Like, for better or for worse, men and women can get angry inappropriately.
Maybe she's doing it just to see how spineless you are.
It's possible. I mean, we call those shit tests, right? And a lot of what happens in testing is unconscious. I think that there are some conscious, intentional tests that women will do towards men, but I think personally and professionally, the majority of testing occurs below the threshold of awareness for women. So an asshole isn't vulnerable to those displays because on some level he doesn't give a shit. He says, sweetheart, if you want to be upset with me, that's fine. That's your right. Why do I need you to be upset or to be not upset? You're a full-grown adult. Like, if you want to be angry, if you want to be out of sorts, if you want to be despondent and sulky, hey, no skin off my back. I don't have to feel those feelings. I felt them. I know they're not pleasant. That's why I prefer not to experience them. But for whatever reason, you want to feel that way? Knock yourself out, sweetheart. I'm not going to stand in the way of you and your feelings. And let me tell you, to the extent that those feelings were instrumentally attempting to change that man's behavior, if a man responds that way, that emotion will disappear very quickly because it doesn't work. Most people don't persist in strategies that don't work. If someone persists in a strategy, it's because it at least partly works. The word dysfunction is mostly the word function. Dysfunction is mostly functional in that it gets what it wants. That's why it exists. So if you want to look at any dysfunctional behavior, you have to understand that at least for a very long time, at least partly, it has succeeded in getting that person what he or she wants. That's why it's persisted through time. That's it. And if you were to change the operant conditioning, like the rewards or punishments as a consequence of that behavior, consistently, thereout, you would very quickly change that behavior. That's the only thing that works. So that's one reason why women like assholes, is because they don't bend in ways that nice guys do that ultimately lead to the disintegration of the relationship and the attraction that she felt for the guy to enter into the relationship to begin with. And this also extends to other people out there. It's sort of like, why does the woman gravitate towards the biggest, scariest guy in the room often? Because he's the safest one. Now you might think, well, he sure doesn't look safe with all of those tattoos and the leather jackets and the kind of like growly stare. Well, he might not be safe to you, another guy, but he's safe to her because she's thinking, if I'm with that guy, no other guy's gonna fuck with him. So I wanna be with the guy that no other guy is gonna fuck with. And assholes, they fight back. They don't just say, oh, sorry, maybe I did something wrong there. Let's work to friends, get along. An asshole will be like, go fuck yourself, man. Why would you do that? And they don't have a problem being disagreeable, and they don't have a problem fighting for what they believe in. Now, some assholes are narcissistic, and what they believe in is just their own misguided self-interest, but not all of them, right? So, but in any case, they are willing to fight for what they believe and what they want, and that's what makes them more safe to women than guys who aren't willing to fight. Assholes also often know that people don't like them, and they've developed a kind of social callus around that, which gives them a social freedom. When you talk to most guys, the thing that paralyzes them socially, whether it's with other guys at parties to make new friends or with women picking them up, is they're afraid that they're going to look awkward or they're going to say something and people aren't going to like them. But when you're an asshole, people already don't like you. I mean, what's the fucking threat here? You know what I'm saying? So because I'm used to people not liking me, because there are people today right now who don't like me and I can deal with it, I have a social freedom that you don't. I can speak my truth because I know what happens when people disapprove or disagree with me and they hate me. Not much. Like